So Chiefswood Johnson, he built this as a wedding present for his wife, Emily Howells, who's over here. So she's English from Bristol, and so her family immigrated from England and they moved to the United States and they became part of the Underground Railroad. So they helped free a lot of slaves. And so her family was very religious. They came from a Quaker background. And so both of her sisters married reverends. And so she moved to Tuscarora Parsonage, which was just along the river here. And her sister was married to the reverend there. And so that's where she met Chief George Johnson. He was an interpreter for the church and also for the government, which is why he could afford such a lavish house. Because at the time, everybody else was living in log cabins. So this house was extreme. So Chief George Johnson was a Mohawk hereditary chief, and he was in love with Emily, absolutely in love with her. And they were really good friends at first. They had a secret engagement for 5 years, and they had to keep it secret because it was an interracial relationship, and at that time it was not okay.
Caucasian.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people say. He actually does look Caucasian. No, he was Mohawk. And so this room was where he would keep a lot of his business meetings and fancy dinner parties. And so that's why those doors are there for privacy. And actually Alexander Graham Bell announced the invention of the telephone in this room. They were friends. Johnson. This is Pauline's grandfather, and so he was a well-known storyteller and orator. And he was a pine tree chief, which means that he was made a chief based on his merit and his good character. And you know, the clan mothers decided that he should lead her, he should guide our people because he has knowledge. He knows what he's talking about. So he was actually known to speak for days. And so he was a big influence on Pauline's writing because he was actually kind of a performer himself in a different respect. So he was actually a wampum belt keeper, and this is a picture of him with a wampum belt, this wampum belt to be precise. This is the Pledge of the Crown wampum, and what it means is that it's a promise from Britain to never make Haudenosaunee change their culture, their heritage. And Haudenosaunee means people of Longhouse. And this is the two-row wampum. And this is one of the first wampum belts that were ever made. And it means that we are traveling in two canoes down the same path of peace and friendship, but our lines will never intersect. So it's a contract of non-interference, basically. And so these wampum belt keepers, it's their job to protect these wampum belts and to pass on the oral story that goes along with it. So that's why we know what they mean, because we have wampum belt keepers, and it's their job. So this picture over here portrays how Pauline would dress during her poetry recitals. So she would come out very much dressed how everybody expected Indians to look like. And it's funny because she got the dress from the Hudson's Bay Company and she adorned it with her own beads and feathers. And so she would come out with feathers in her hair, dressed like that, and then she would deliver her more like native nature poetry, and then she'd do an intermission and come out dressed like that. And she would deliver more of her Canadian patriotic poetry. And so she was very much a performer at a time when no one else was doing that. So it's very cool. So we just have this little courthouse doll here portraying how our people actually dress. We didn't wear buckskin like that. You know, we wore ribbon dresses.
Very modest, yeah. I mean, for the time probably it's very good house, but you know, it's compared to not much.
Yeah. Well, we can't have that much here because there are artifacts and we don't have a humidifier.
Oh, I see what you don't have.
Yeah.
And where's the rest of it?
A lot of the stuff is at the Woodland Cultural Center in Brantford and ROM, and I can't remember the other one, I'm sorry. So I don't know if you noticed from the outside, but the house is actually built with symmetrical doors. So this house is built with 2 front doors. I'll just open this up to show you. So the house is built with 2 front doors to symbolize their embrace and respect for both cultures. So the south door faces the river, and the north door faces the road. So European, you know, like food coming from this door, like the road was there and the railroad, and this one's facing the river. So that's why we say this is where culture meets.
What railroad was it?
There's a railroad just over there, and it was here back then. I'm not sure what it was called or what it even is called now, but there was a train. I'm not sure. And the wallpaper's from there. The wallpaper is a reproduction of William Morris, who was the wallpaper that they had at the time. This isn't really that we could have done, but it's from the arts and crafts movement, which was along the same time as the Romantic area. So it was like an embrace of nature. So a lot of it's bringing nature inside. So that's what that is. So we actually have an art exhibit. You know what? That's something we should do, is actually have an art exhibit. So the artist Jax Rula, she personified the watershed. So she made dolls out of inspiration of the river. So this one over here is the river waking up after a winter. So this is all like ice and snow and the water moving through her, and she's just waking up. This one is actually a ghost story. This lady, it was along the Galt area. It was in Galt, and it was, I forget what year, like 1800s. But anyway, she had an affair with the postmaster. She worked at a post office, and she was having an affair with him. And then she ended up hanging in the clock tower in Galt. And nobody knows if she hung herself or if he killed her. But this represents that ghost story, which is kind of neat. That one, I think, is Elora for the Elora Gorge. And then she did E.Pauline Johnson over there.
Who did you say made the dolls?
Her name's Jax Rula.
Okay.
And if you're interested to know more, she has her business cards over here.
Or is she around still?
She was here yesterday. We actually just opened this exhibit yesterday.
Oh,
And she sells the dolls. She makes them herself.
No, she doesn't sell them. These are her artwork. So she's taking this exhibit on tour. So this is only going to be here for a month, and then she's going somewhere else with it. And she's actually making a call for artists. So if you know anyone who does dolls, artwork, giving him more information because she wants to go on tour and do more artwork.
When I collect dolls, my granddaughter's small.